Okay guys, I'm making this video because no one really explained this and it's been baffling me and I finally got it figured out. But I've got 2008 Freightliner Cascadia with a Detroit engine in it, and I put in a new alternator because the old alternator had gone out completely. So I put the new alternator in and I started having charging issues. It was going to 4.7, 4.8, wasn't hitting the 15. I called the dealership. They said everything was fine. That as long as it's under 15, it's fine. But I was having problems with my inverter. I've got a pure sine wave inverter in the truck. In order to be able to use it, I'd have to turn on the headlights and the hazard lights and the fans and the interior lights and cab lights and all that kind of stuff in order to be able to get the voltage down enough to where the inverter would say okay and kick on. So if you're having issues with this kind of stuff, I found out that I did some tests. I use a power probe. I'll show that to you in a second here. But with a power probe, I hooked it up to the power, positive, negative, and you're able to check the voltage like an ohm meter. Check the voltage coming out of here. I was getting 14.9, which is crazy. And I was getting about 7.5 volts out of this, 15.1 out of this, and then this is hooked up correctly, by the way. You'll see a little tag on the back of it when you hook it up. This one right here was coming out 14.1, 14.3. And so I had a little bit of corrosion on this wire right here. And so I went ahead and got rid of the corrosion, added a new line, soldered everything real good, heat shrinked it, it's all good. And I was thinking that was the problem. So then on my batteries, I started thinking, well, I was having a battery problem, because it wasn't doing right. So under here, you got the, it's called the Mega Fuse block right here. This was all rusted, had all kinds of corrosion all over it. So I replaced the fuse block, which I didn't have to until I started taking out these nuts right here. And the bolts are only being held in like they do on fiberglass. And once they start spinning, well, you're not going to get them out. So that was a pain. But I got it out. 2 bolts on the back side of it. Comes off. Take this wire off basically, and these 3 on the top. That's all you need. And this thing will come right out of here. But I replaced this, 85 bucks. Checked here and here on all these. Everything's good. The voltage is getting through on all of them, so that wasn't a problem. Somebody else was commenting on that. I took all of my battery cables off all the way down. Took them in and got my wire brush on the grinder and cleaned both top and bottom and cleaned everything up. That wasn't the issue. Once I got that back together, I still wasn't getting any kind of voltage. Then someone had mentioned about the LVD, which is, I got this little panel taken off here, sitting out in the sunlight, so I hope we can see it. You can see right here, LVD remote response, 20 amp. Well, damn thing doesn't tell you which one of these in your fuse block it is, and they're not marked anywhere on here. But I figured out that it was this one right here. And even with the power probe, which this is a power probe, this is a handy little thing. If you guys out there on the road, everybody should have one of these. This thing is awesome because it allows you to add power to the tip, and then you pull down on this and it gives you the negative, which allows you to check lights. You can, it's just the most amazing tool. Go look at the video on it. Somebody else might be better at it, but I highly recommend. This thing has saved my ass so many times. But anyway, so I was doing the test and I was touching here, shows 13.2 volts. I'm touching here and it was showing 13.2 volts. Actually, it was showing the 14.9 on both sides. So I just assumed, since I was getting power out of both sides, that meant that the fuse itself wasn't blown. Because normally on any other fuse, you get positive on one side and nothing on the other side, meaning that there's not making a connection inside. But apparently this fuse for your LVD remote sense is going to get power on both sides. But if it's blown, your alternator will go nuts. You'll start getting high voltage charging from your alternator, and it was just causing all kinds of havoc. Everything was working, it was just charging too high. So I changed that out, that little fuse right there, and voila, everything works great. It's charging perfectly now. So just a little tip. Anyways, now I got air problems and everything else, so I'm back to work. Talk to you later, guys.